Going to start talking about the Salesforce admin training. So this training is primarily going to be for beginners who are starting in Salesforce. So if you are trying to become a Salesforce administrator, if you are a fresher trying to make a career into Salesforce, or if you are even trying to switch to Salesforce, if you are a business analyst and you want to explore Salesforce, this is going to be something which will be possibly help you here. All right. Now, the quick thing is, even if you're trying to become a Salesforce developer and you are new to Salesforce, this is again going to be very useful, or I would say this is going to be a prerequisite for you before you can actually learn the development aspects of it. All right. So this is the first set of stuff that you need to learn. So in this Salesforce admin training, uh, what we cover is the aspects that you need to be aware of or you need to learn on basic fundamentals of Salesforce configurations, etc. I'll talk in details on what all we are going to discuss, and this is going to be series, a complete series, because of course cannot complete everything in one session. Yeah, okay. So let's quickly get started with the key question, the very basic question. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have this question in mind, which is, what is Salesforce? So for absolute beginners, of course, this is a very important question. They keep on thinking, what is Salesforce, and how it is used, why it is used, and all that stuff. All right. So I'll talk about, in this introduction to Salesforce section, I'll quickly talk about what is Salesforce. I'll talk about what is CRM, because it is very important for us to understand what is CRM. And then I will talk about two different types of CRMs, the on-premise and the on-cloud CRM. I'll talk more about it. What are those, how those are different, and which type of CRM is Salesforce. Okay, so we'll quickly talk about those things. So let's get started with the very basic question first. What is Salesforce? The first question that of course comes into our mind is, what is Salesforce? For those who are new to Salesforce, for those who are not completely aware of what is Salesforce, right? So Salesforce, if I have to uh, put it in very simple words, it would be, Salesforce is world's number one CRM, I would say. The most popular CRM that we have, it's world's number one CRM. All right. CRM, customer relationship management tool. So Salesforce is a CRM tool or a CRM software, and it is the most popular CRM software which is available right now. Based on the market share, etc. This is world's number one CRM. All right. Now the next question that immediately comes into mind. So we have understood that Salesforce is world's number one CRM. The next immediate question that comes into mind, then what is CRM? Right, of course, for people who are not aware of it. So CRM, if I have to talk about it a little technically, I'll give you a simpler explanation also. But first of all, let's understand this a little more, I would say, in a little bit technical terminologies. So CRM, you can assume it to be a set of tools, technologies, procedures, everything that you put together to manage, improve, facilitate all your interactions with your customers, your sales, customer support, right? So what happens when a company, so customer relationship management, when the name is, if I have to break it into simple words, customer relationship management, of course, the name itself is indicative that it's got something to do with customers, of course. So if there is a business, so it's, of course, a business is there, they will definitely have customers, and they need to maintain relationship with customers. Maintaining relationship with customer will mean they need to keep some information about the customer, they need to keep track of the interactions with the customer, etc. So for that, they need a software. So let's say there is a business, think about any business, Amazon. Now, Amazon has got hundreds of thousands of customers, right? Now they need to keep track of each interaction when we are buying something from Amazon, when we are returning something to Amazon, when we are making a payment. So what did we buy? When did we buy? Uh, till when I am eligible to return the product? Everything, right? What payments I have made? What payments I have to make? When is my order being delivered? All those things. So this way, any business needs to keep a complete track of all their customer related interactions, and these interactions can be a lot. Okay, so it's not just about uh, keeping information about the customer's phone number, email ID, etc. It is beyond that. It is about keeping track of almost everything, right? So as I said, what is the customer willing to buy, what is the customer what customer has actually bought, when are we about to deliver that. Even once you have sold the product, after selling the product, the customer may want to come back for some customer support related or grievances related uh, uh, things. Then when the customer comes back, at that point of time also the company needs to have that information available, because if they don't have that information available of what the customer purchased, till when he's eligible for a warranty, what sort of warranty is he eligible for, if we do not have those things, then what happens, then it will become a big challenge for the business to be able to um, serve the customer in the right way. And if they are not able to do that, then they will definitely start losing customers, right? So we understand, I'm pretty sure by now you must have got a sense of uh, how important it is for business to keep track of all this information. And of course it cannot be done in say Microsoft Excel sheets and all that stuff, so it cannot be done that way, right? You need a proper software which can help you do those things, right? And that's where the CRM software comes into picture. So what does a CRM tool does, or a CRM software does? So CRM software would um, help you manage, improve, facilitate all your interactions, track all your interactions, so that your sales team or the customer support team can start looking into those, retrieve the information when required. So three things there, right? So first thing, you need a software which will help you keep track of all the information, right? So you need something which can help you track the information. Secondly, the same software should be able to help you retrieve the information when you want to retrieve it, right? Third most important thing would be, you also want to ensure that this software is keeping your information in a structured and stored manner, secured manner, structured and secured manner, so that it is not being exposed unnecessarily to everyone, or to the entire world, or within your team also you may want to control, or the business may want to control who gets access to what data, right? So your CRM keeps track of your information, lets you retrieve when you require it, and also lets you keep it secured, etc. So that is this the kind of software a CRM is, all right? So now, in addition to all these things, CRM, other than keeping track of all the information, CRM is also expected to help you improve the process you interact with your customer. For example, if there is a need for me that every time a customer has raised an inquiry, if there is a need for me to respond to that inquiry, that hey, thanks for raising your inquiry, we have got your inquiry, we'll get back to you in a couple of days. If there is a need for me to send out those emails, instead of sending out those emails manually, crm CRM should be capable of helping us automate some of these things, so helping in both the ways. So one, to ensure that things are not missed. Second, to increase the efficiency or the productivity of the sales or customer support team, etc., right? So that's a quick thing about what is Salesforce and what is CRM. So that's what Salesforce does. So Salesforce is, as I said, world's most popular CRM. There are a few others. There is there are CRMs from Oracle, SAP, Adobe. HubSpot is pretty much doing good. There is Zoho, which is very popular in Indian market. So there are other companies as well, but Salesforce certainly stands out, and this is very because it is so popular. This is something which is widely used by a lot of big companies, enterprise level companies mostly try to. So you may have Zoho being used by smaller companies, but bigger companies, if you're talking about the Fortune 500 companies and all, most of them would be using Salesforce as their CRM, because they definitely want uh, the best in the market, right? So that is the thing. Now we will slightly now get into understanding why and how Salesforce became so popular, and in that I will also talk a little about what type of CRM it is, and how does it overall work. Okay, so now let's quickly understand one aspect here, which would be, so before I talk about the this on premise versus on cloud, let us quickly understand one aspect. So the first aspect is that what we have understood based on the discussion so far, that Salesforce is a CRM, and a CRM tracks a lot of information, correct? So that's what we are saying. We are saying that CRM will keep track of all my customer interactions, etc. So CRM tracks a lot of information, which means you need some data to be stored, all right? So that's a part of CRM. CRM would store data. Now, the moment this question, the moment you have the requirement of storing data, the immediate question that comes into mind: where will this data be stored? Right? Will you need to build a server within your office premises, or will it be stored on the cloud? Right? Salesforce is a CRM which stores the data on cloud. All right. So let's understand a bit of basics here. So if you want to store any data, let's say, now if you have create a document, you have two options. You can save the document as a, let's say you have created a Word doc, MS Word doc, and you have saved it in your local computer. Okay. The other option for you will be, let's say you create a Google Doc and you store it in Google Drive. What is the difference? If you have stored something in Google Drive, you will be able to access it from anywhere. But if you have stored something in your local computer, you will be able to access it only from that computer. So if you are in a different place, and if you are not using that computer, then possibly you will not have access to the file that you have stored locally. Same concept applies here also. So data can be stored either locally in a local server, which is within your premise, all right, or the data can be stored on the cloud. So on cloud is something which is accessible through internet, all right. So there are two types of CRMs which you would find. There are CRMs which would store data locally in the on-premise server, and those are referred to as on-premise CRM. Okay, so this on-premise CRM has got a few limitations. What are the limitations? First is it's a local server. Local server would mean that only can be accessed locally. There's a good amount of cost involved in installation of that server, right? So it's pretty much like if you have to save a Word doc locally, then you possibly need a laptop, right? But for storing something in a Google Drive, etc., you do not need a laptop. Also, you can possibly be storing it from the phone, or even if you are sitting in a cyber cafe, or even if you are in your office, you can from their laptop also you can create the documents in the Google Drive, right? So you don't need your own personal server infrastructure, etc. So if for any data storage, if you want to set up your own server, it will involve cost, right? You'll have to buy the server, you'll have to set it up. So there is initial cost involved. It's time consuming activity, because setting up server and connections and all those things are certainly going to be time consuming activities. Since it is your server, you will have to take care of the maintenance of it, which again becomes an overhead for you. Dedicated team will be required. If you have set up a server within your premise, then you will certainly need a dedicated team to look after that, when the server is down, etc. You will have to think of the backups for the server. So let's say you have an office and you have set up a server here. So this is your server, and everyone in your office are connecting to this server, right? So till here the situation is fine, but you also need to think of, if there is a disaster, something happens, if there is for some reason the server crashes, then what would happen, right? You will end up losing all the information. For some reason, if there is any other natural disaster, you will lose the server, you will lose all the information stored in that server, which is something that you definitely do not want, or something that you cannot afford to lose that information. So to ensure that you are secured from that side, you will need to maintain a backup. Now this backup needs to be maintained somewhere else, cannot be maintained in the same premise, because then it doesn't make sense, right? So if there is a fire in the same office and both the servers are in the same office, then of course it does not work, right? So backup needs to be maintained. There is additional level of complexity, etc., to maintain backup. Disaster recovery, you do not have, I mean, you have to plan for, how would you deal with disaster recovery, etc. So server crashes, how to retrieve that and all that stuff becomes a part of your roles and responsibilities. Now with this, what happens, this kind of a CRM, if you see, there is so much of, I would say there is so much of additional work or additional effort which goes towards doing these things, maintaining the server, installing, getting it correct, having the team to maintain it and all. That is one reason why this is. And at the end of the day, what are you getting? You're just getting a local server. So if you have 20 people in the team, all those 20 should be available in the um, in your same office premise, right? You cannot have people working from different locations, different cities, or different countries. Also nowadays, most of the companies work that ways, right? They may have some people sitting in India, they may have some people sitting in a different country. So that thing is also not available, and on top of that you are putting so much of effort. So for these reasons, this on-premise CRM is not a very preferred option until and unless companies need to use it for compliance reasons, etc. So there are certain businesses who still opt for this, and primary reason for that is, in certain uh, businesses, it is a compliance requirement to have the data stored in your own server. You cannot put it on cloud, right? So otherwise, there is no much benefit that we get from on-premise CRM, right? Now, the next one that we have is the on-cloud CRM. Now, on-cloud CRM comes with a lot of benefits. So first of all, you are not required to basically maintain. So it's pretty simple, pretty similar to Google Drive example. Again, I'll go into that. So if you have created a document in Google Drive, you're really not worried about where Google Drive is actually storing it, whether it is maintaining a backup of it or not, whether it is taking care of disaster recovery, etc. So those things are not part of your roles and responsibilities. You can easily focus on the main core business and not worry about how the data is getting stored, who is maintaining it, and all that stuff. Another example I can give you is, when it is your own car, you need to maintain it, you need to take it for servicing, you need to take care of refueling, you need to take care of driving, or hiring a driver. You need to take care of parking in case you have gone somewhere. At the same time, if you book an Uber, in that case, you really are not worried about anything. So all that you have to do is, you simply need to go and book the Uber, and the um, the actual service provider, in that case, let's say the person who brings in the car, he takes care of parking, servicing, whether the car has been serviced or not, whether you have fuel in that car or not, and all that stuff. So all that you're doing is, you are just using it as a plug and play, right? So that's the concept with something which is on cloud. So with an on cloud CRM, what happens? The biggest advantage is that you are completely location independent. Because it is on the cloud, you can access it from anywhere using any device. So this is important. So this is on the cloud, and you can access it from anywhere, sitting in any location with any device. So you can start using it through mobile, you can start using it from a laptop or a desktop computer, whatever it is. Setup is pretty quick. You really do not, I mean, all that you need is just buy a subscription, which can happen in 5 minutes. You really do not need dedicated space, team, and all that stuff. No installation is required. You really do not need to worry about that. Maintenance, you do not have to worry about maintaining that particular server. Disaster recovery is not your uh, responsibility. There is the service provider company will take care of it. Scalability is easy. So in case if you gradually try to scale up your team, so let's say now you have built a CRM or a server which can support 50,000 customers, but your business eventually has grown and now it requires 500,000 customers. Scalability is going to be easy here, right? Because all that you have to do is maybe there will be an additional subscription charge or something like that, and you can scale it easily. Flexibility, you have more features, functionalities you need, you want to scale up, scale down, all those things will be easy, right? So these are the two different types of CRMs. So the ones where you have data stored in on the cloud, the other one where the data is stored on the premise. Salesforce is an on cloud CRM. So which means what? Sorry. Yeah. Which means what? When you're using Salesforce as a CRM, or when a company is using Salesforce as a CRM, they really do not need to worry about where the data will be stored. Salesforce CRM subscription, when you take it, along with that you also get the data storage. So there is a concept of how much data you can store, etc., and there are different options for you to decide on how much data you would need, data storage space you would need, etc. But that is taken care of by Salesforce. So all that you need to do is you simply need to get the subscription and start using it. Again, I'll go back to the example of Google Drive, very similar to what we do with Google Drive. So the moment you've created an account with Google Drive, you automatically get the storage space. Same thing happens with Salesforce. So where the data will get stored, etc., that is something which we will not be worried about. And this is one advantage where Salesforce started actually. Just to share a bit of history. So Salesforce is, I think, one of the first companies to introduce the on cloud CRM. All right, and this is where they initially became very popular. All right, so that's about our Salesforce on premise versus on cloud CRM. Okay, now before we get into the actual Salesforce landscape and before we start working on things, since this is that this entire series is made for Salesforce admin and is more of an admin training, I would quickly want to share what are the key roles and responsibilities of Salesforce administrators, so that if you are planning to become an administrator, or even if you're planning to become a developer, Salesforce admin knowledge is prerequisite for that, right? So this should basically help you understand what you should be good with, or what you should understand are key roles and responsibilities of a Salesforce admin. And based on that, you will also understand that what all things you need to know within Salesforce, right? So first of all, the most important role of a Salesforce admin is to control user access and management, or to support the user. So let's say there is a company which has got 100 people, 100 sales reps, and 100 customer support reps who are working on Salesforce, right? Now, day to day, if they have any challenges, they reach out to the Salesforce administrator. If they are not able to access some record, they need access to some record, etc., so the users would need reach out to the Salesforce admin. So admin is pretty similar, like you will have office admin team, right? So admin is someone who is responsible, like same way, as you have your admins for WhatsApp group, etc., right? So if someone wants to add another person and all, you would reach out to the WhatsApp admin, right? Same way, if more users need to be created, some users need to be freezed or deactivated, some additional permissions need to be given, everything is going to be part of Salesforce administrators roles and responsibility. Doing basic configuration, etc., so who will be able to do what and all that stuff, and some customization, these things also Salesforce administrators usually work on. Slightly advanced customizations will basically fall into the bucket of Salesforce developer and not of the Salesforce administrator. Things like automation and process management, that is again something which Salesforce administrators usually would do. They may not be always defining or building the automations, but to a certain extent, managing those automations are something. So let's say there is an automation which continues to run, and I want this automation to not run for next 24 hours because I'm working on something, and I want the automation to be stopped. So again, Salesforce administrator will step in here and help with um, setting up the or stopping that automation for temporarily and then restarting it and all that stuff. Data management is a part of bigger part of administrators responsibility again. Everything related to data, if the There is some data cleansing activity which needs to be done, if some bulk data upload needs to be done, if some bulk data deletion needs to be done, reassignment of records, etc. So those things also Salesforce administrator would do. Reports and dashboards, again, administrators are uh, required to look into building reports, dashboards, etc. Support and troubleshooting is something which is again part of Salesforce administrator. So someone is stuck somewhere, not able to see the right set of fields, not able to work with a button. So those things, troubleshooting, etc. So Salesforce administrator would do, as a first level check. Release and environment management. So some of the activities related to release and environment management, that is also something which would fall under the bucket of Salesforce administrator, though it would be kind of done by say if there is a development team also, they also take care of some parts of it. Some part can be taken care of by the Salesforce administrators. Training and adoption also at times is part of Salesforce administrators' job role and responsibility, because they may need to train certain new resources, etc., to give them an overview of how the system is used, etc. Governance and collaboration, compliance, audits, etc. So those things can also be maintained or controlled by Salesforce admin, and to some extent stakeholder coordination. So yeah, as I said, users would usually try to reach out to the Salesforce admin as the first point of contact, and from there, if the admin feels that there are certain things which need to be changed, etc., he can then propose, and then if those are simple, straightforward things, admin himself can do it. If those are slightly more complex, maybe there would be a development team, involved, which will take care of whatever needs to be changed or whatever needs to be enhanced. So these are the key roles and responsibilities of the Salesforce administrators, and very important for anyone to understand who is learning Salesforce admin. Right now, before we start, let us. So now we are actually going to get into action. We are actually going to start getting into the Salesforce org, and we will start understanding how it works. All right. So before we start, what are we going to do? We are going to start with creating a Salesforce org, because there is no learning without an actual org. You cannot just learn reading theory, looking at a slide. It doesn't help, right? So for doing all your practical activities, to get complete practical hands-on, you would need a developer edition. What is a developer edition? There are different editions which are available in Salesforce depending on the requirement of a business. There the business actually adopts what kind of edition they need, but in other than those editions which are used by businesses, there is an edition which is called developer edition, and this developer edition is primarily meant for people who are trying to learn Salesforce. So it's a free edition, which is the good thing. And another good thing is that it does not expire. Okay, so it's not a 30 days, 15 days. Usually for a lot of softwares, you would see that you are getting a 15 days or a 30 days trial sort of thing. So this developer edition will continue to be available as long as there is some sort of activity within the previous 6 months. So this is what Salesforce officially says. So if you create, and I would want everyone to create a developer edition, I'm just going to show you how to create, where to create that. But I would want everyone to create a developer edition and use it for all sort of learning activities, all the small dummy projects that you are going to build, etc. Use your developer edition. Now if you do that, your developer edition kind of becomes a kind of portfolio for you, right? So if you're a complete fresher, or if you are a complete beginner in Salesforce and you have built certain things on developer edition, you can always refer to that, you can always talk about that. So for your learning also it is important, and if you're also trying to showcase your work to someone, you can use the same developer edition, because again, the advantage is that it will not expire. It expires only if there is it is not used for 6 months or so. Officially they say that they would um, deactivate a developer edition uh, after 6 months of inactivity, but personally I have seen that there are developer editions which I have not used for more than 6 months, but they were still available. So but yeah, I would highly recommend you to go by official stuff, because I, I have observed something I just shared, but do not rely on that. Okay. Now, the developer edition that we get comes with few small limitations. So the data storage that you get will be 5 MB, which is a good enough data storage for learning purpose. You can easily store what maybe 1,000 records or something like that in this, right? And with file storage, you get 20 MB file storage. That should also be fine. File storage, we do not need that much. Data storage also, we would not need that much for learning purpose. And you get 2 full licenses of Salesforce. 2 full licenses means you can create Salesforce account for 2 users, right? So one for yourself and one more user, which again should be more than enough. Most of my developer editions, I just have one license, which is used by me, right? So the second one I do not even use in most of the cases. So that should also not be a problem. So whatever limitations are there, those are pretty, I would say, okay, and they do not impact your overall learning and all that stuff. Okay. Otherwise, most of the features and all of enterprise edition are available with a developer edition, other than few very specific features which you may not need immediately. So that is the thing. Okay. So now that's about the developer edition. Now, how do we create a developer edition? So to create a developer edition, you would ideally go to, I will just try to write the URL here, and then we'll try to see if we can go to that URL. There is this URL. You will see developer.salesforce.com/sign up. Okay. So if you go to this URL, you will find a form. It will give you a form like this. You will have to fill the form. You will have to enter your details, click on the submit button. It will send you an email with the link to set up a password. You set up your password, and that's how it works. All right, let's have a quick look at how do we set it up. So let's see. Yeah. So this is the URL that we were talking about. Now we have this, and it takes you to your sign up for your developer edition. If you look at this, yeah. So in this form, what you have to do, you will simply need to you can enter your first name, last name, country, company, work email. Instead of work email, you can, by the way, use Gmail ID also, and it works. Okay. So though it says work email, it does not necessarily have to be your company's official email ID. And I would strongly recommend that do not use your company's email ID for this, for 2 reasons. One, they may be sending some promotional stuff, or emails on that email ID, which you possibly do not want to receive in your company's email. Secondly, the most important reason for that is, if you set it up with your company's email ID, you will lose access to that account once you have left the company, right? So I would say use your developer editions, which you can use across companies, maybe, right? So fill in this, and all that you need to do is click on I agree, and then click on sign me up. So yeah, that should help you set up your developer account, right? Now the moment you set it up, the moment you have uh, filled this form, and the moment you click on sign me up, you have not entered any password here. So password is something which you will have to enter in the next step. So as part of the next step, what you will do, you will basically, as part of your next step, you will receive an email. You would get an email, and that email will have a link to set your password, right? So you should wait for some time. Sometimes the email for setting up the password takes a few minutes. So wait for some time, get the link, click on the link, set up your password. And once you are done with setting up the password, what is that you do? So then you will have your username. Your username is primarily going to be your work email ID that you provide here, right? So that will become your username, and your password will be and if your username is not this, sometimes Salesforce will also provide because now there are a lot of people who are creating accounts. So Salesforce sometimes gives you a unique username, which will be very, again, similar to your email ID, but maybe some I would say some suffix or prefix associated with your email ID, right? So that you get your username in the same email, uh, and you set up the password, right? Once you have the username and password, all that you need to do is you can simply go to login.salesforce.com. Yeah. And here you will have the option to enter your username and password and click on login. So now you should be able to um, set up your developer edition, and from here you should be able to log in into your developer edition, um, and you should be able to see that, right? So for now, what I would suggest is I would keep it here for now. I would recommend everyone to quickly set up the developer editions, and there's a small activity which I would want you to do. Set up your developer edition and try to explore. I'm sure you will not understand most of the things, but certain things at least you will, you know it's like exploring a new phone, right? So when we um, get a new phone, what do? We really do not sit with a manual and start exploring, right? We start actually going through it, try to navigate through it, try to explore it. That is something which will help you to get to a level where whatever we discuss next will start making a lot more sense, right? So do spend some time, maybe a few minutes. Try to spend 20 to 30 minutes just exploring. You will not understand most of the things. Do not worry. Do not be concerned about if something goes wrong with this environment. If I have changed some configuration, don't hesitate. It's a free edition, and if you have um, if you have really screwed up something, you can always go and create a new developer edition, right? So yeah, feel free to make some of those uh, navigations changes, etc. So explore that, and we'll get into the developer edition, or we will get into the actual Salesforce account in the next session, and we will start working on that. Thank you.